and Extreme Networks present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program. With nearly 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 48 states around this country, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans how to huddle up during a time when we need to be united.
It's time for America to take a real deep dive, not at no one else, but at yourself individually. If you want to change America, don't brush your teeth with your head down. Look at who you are and be the example. Be the example.
An opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. Single-parent homes, drug-infested neighborhoods, and poverty.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was considered one of the worst in America, and the household I grew up in was one of the worst in that neighborhood. By the time I was 20 years old, I knew at least 30 friends or family members who had lost their lives. Football became like a second parent to me. It taught me the things that my father wasn't there to teach me, and that my mother, as a struggling single-parent woman, just didn't know to teach me.
But they learn how to live a life of character before pursuing their football careers. Today, you will learn you can do the same that they once did. Making good decisions can lead to a prosperous life both on and off the field. Your game for life has already begun. It's your decision whether or not you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
Every one of you can have a Hall of Fame life whether or not you play football. You can be as great as you want to be. The Hall of Fame is all about integrity, character, and excellence. You have the opportunity to represent yourself that way. You determine your character.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, The Heart of a Hall of Famer.
You know, a lot of times when we strive to get to the pinnacle of our profession, it's like a triangle. You reach the pinnacle and you have a broad base of people, just like each and every one of you that make that possible. Well, I had those people. I think about all the opportunity I was offered, the encouragement, the instruction I was offered. And it allowed me to do only one thing, and that is to offer my life. Make my life an offering. See, because in my second year in the NFL, I knew I wasn't motivated by the money. I knew I wasn't motivated by the notoriety. And I sat in my hotel room the night before the season opener, and there had to be more to playing in the NFL. And I realized as I looked through the scriptures that there is more than playing in the NFL.
I share with young people, I've not met a successful person or someone that's accomplished something that hasn't gone through some adversity. But it's how you go through that adversity and come out the other side. Not just focusing on the adversity, but the development, the maturity after that. So, you know, with my story, I think that's really what I've found over the years to hopefully inspire these young people is to say, sure, I was an NFL football player, but I've come from the same place that a lot of you have come from, not having a whole lot, but having to work for everything you get.
That I was to present my body as a living sacrifice, and that was my way to worship God. And you talk about intensity and competitiveness, that's exciting. You see, and as I met the gentleman that sculpted this bus, Blair Buswell, and I sat there with him for 2 days, and he brought in all the details. And I look at God, how God has sculpted this person and brought the details in with all the people I've mentioned. And it has allowed me to be the person I am. And that's what I'm thankful for.
Let's welcome Gold Jacket and Hall of Famer Anthony Muñoz. Welcome. All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody here. in-house to another installment of the Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by Extreme Networks. And also everybody who's tuned in on Facebook Live. If you're watching via Facebook Live, make sure you leave a comment, leave a question, and we'll try our best to get it in as part of the program. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And those values we talk about are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which made our Hall of Famers not only Hall of Famers on the field, but Hall of Famers off the field as well. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth and Education Manager at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I'm proud to welcome today Gold Jacket and Class of 1998 inductee, Mr. Anthony Muñoz, here to his second home in Canton, Ohio.
Thanks, Jake.
But before we turn things over to Mr. Muñoz, just want to send out a few thank yous first. First, I'd like to thank our folks at Extreme Networks. You know, without them, this program could not take place. They do a bunch of great stuff for us at the Hall of Fame and through, for school districts across the country. Second, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators who not only allowed us to maybe be in their classroom today watching on Facebook Live, but that brought their students here to Canton, Ohio. I also like to thank the staff at Canton City Schools, more specifically here at McKinley High School, for allowing us to use Umstead Hall for our program today. And lastly, I'd like to thank our students. You know, without you guys, the program doesn't happen today, and we've got students representing all over Northeast Ohio. So I'm going to read through the schools here. We'll give a big cheer at the end, but I'm going to read through the schools. So once I'm done, we'll give a big cheer, and then we'll get rolling. So we've got students here from Austintown Fitch High School, East Canton High School, McDonald High School, Wyndham High School, Kenmore Garfield High School, Martin Luther King Jr. High School, so halfway done, Canton Local Schools, the Horizon Science Academy, Heritage Christian School, St. Mary's School, Coventry High School, Glen Oak High School, and then we have a bunch of students here from our home district, Canton City Schools. So everybody give all those classes, all those school districts a big round of applause for being here today. As I mentioned before, we're going to try, throughout the program, we're going to go into your students for questions. There have been some students who've been selected when you guys arrived. You got a note card with a question on it. We'll be coming to you guys periodically throughout the program to ask questions. We're also going to go, like I said earlier, we're going to have Facebook Live questions. So if you're watching online, feel free to submit that question, and we'll get that in the program if we can. With that being said, let's welcome Gold Jacket, Anthony Muñoz.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. First of all, Jake, thank you for having me, and it's good being back in Canton. Always love coming back to Canton to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and thank you for being here with us today. It's an honor to be here with you today and just share a few thoughts with you. This is something that I love doing, being able to, hence the title, Heart of a Hall of Famer, is just being transparent and sharing my heart with you. And I guess the first thing is we talk about, you know, how we got here and, you know, really the attributes of guys that I get a chance to be around that excelled in the sport of football. Not only that, but as I've gotten to know most of the guys I'm around here in Canton, the fellow Hall of Famers, is that they excel in all parts of their lives. And as I look over at our Hall of Fame values, I guess the first one and I speak on these values a lot, I think the first one, commitment, kind of embodies the rest of them. When I think about being able to wear this gold jacket or this Hall of Fame ring, or if I get a chance to go through the Hall of Fame and see the bust, it has to be the word commitment when I think about character. And I know you're all young, but there is a great Green Bay Packers head coach, Vince Lombardi, and he's got a lot of great quotes, but I think the one quote that goes along with commitment, to me, commitment is being excellent. He says, perfection cannot be attainable, but if you chase perfection, you'll catch excellence. And when I think of commitment, I think of excellence. I think you have to be committed, regardless to what area of life. You have to be committed as a student in school, as a brother, a sister, a son or daughter. For myself, I had to be committed as a pro football player, as a husband, as a father, and now as a grandfather. And knowing that I can't be perfect, none of us will ever be perfect. But if we chase perfection, we'll catch excellence. And I think that all really comes down to commitment. Are you committed to being the best? Are you committed to being the best student? Are you committed to being, when I was playing, was I committed to being the best offensive tackle, the best NFL football player? So, you know, we can't just talk about being committed. Some people talk about being committed to be excellent,
and others put that into action, become actions, and I think that's the key. I look back to my career and I look at all the mentors I had growing up, from my mom, who raised 5 kids by herself, to coaches, to teachers, to aunts and uncles. It really stressed that commitment to excellence and giving it all you have, never giving up, regardless of what your circumstances are. You might be someone like myself that grew up with nothing. I mean, we never had a car. We didn't have a whole lot. My mom worked 2 or 3 jobs to provide for her kids. But we had the love, we had the encouragement to really try to excel. So I had mentors in my life that really gave me that attitude of, regardless of what you do, give it all you got and never give up. So, that's what I kind of wanted to start out by sharing with you, is that, and our president, Dave Baker, says it best. He says our gold jacket, we didn't roll out of bed, we didn't fall out of bed and become Hall of Famers. So it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to be able to wear this jacket. I'm thankful. I'm very humbled to be able to wear this jacket and to call Canton home.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming back to the second home. With that being said, we're going to turn over to our student questions. Our first question looks like it's going to come over here to our left. So go ahead. If you have a question, state your name, your school, and then go ahead and ask your question for Mr. Muñoz.
Hi, my name is Michael Santiago from Ohio. And if you could have played with the Hall of Famer of your choice, who would you choose?
If I could have played with the Hall of Famer of my choice, who would I have chosen? Wow. That's a great question. I think as an offensive lineman, if I had the chance to block for Jim Brown of the Cleveland, that would have been pretty exciting. I mean, I watched highlights, I watched how he used to run the football and his work ethic. I think that would have been fun to line up in the huddle, to look across and see Jim Brown and know that a running play was called to my side, the left side, and he was going to be carrying the ball.
And in-conference rival,
that's
an iffy.
It is an interconference. It's an interstate interconference. But the great thing about it now, he's asking me about a Hall of Famer. I'm on the same team.
All right, that's right. That's right.
So that's the great thing about it. But yeah, that would have been one guy that I'd love to play with.
All right, we're going to go to our next question. Go ahead and stand up and ask your question here. State your name, your school. We'll get the mic over to you, and then ask your question.
I'm Brady Jones, and I'm from St. Mary's School. When you first came to the league, was there a player who mentored you, or a player you tried to be like?
My rookie year with the Cincinnati Bengals, there was a couple players that all I had to do was watch, and they really showed me what it meant to be a professional, not only on the field, but off the field. And the first guy was the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner from Ohio State, and that's Archie Griffin. Archie Griffin was a running back at Cincinnati when I got there. And you talk about work ethic, character, not only on the field, but off the field. He was one guy I really looked at to really look and see how you handled yourself. And then another guy was a linebacker out of, I believe he was North Dakota State. It was Jim LeClaire. When you first met him, he scowled at everybody. He never smiled. And I thought, does this guy like his teammates? But as I got to know Jim, a great man of faith, just an intense person, and a great football player. So Archie Griffin and Jim LeClaire, 2 teammates of mine when I got to Cincinnati that really showed me what it meant to be a professional on and off the field.
Now, coming into the league, you were one of the top draft picks in your draft class, but your college career didn't kind of pan out the way that you thought it was going to. Can you talk a little bit about, what the adjustment is, coming from a school like USC to the NFL, and then your specific adjustment, with all your injuries that you sustained during your college career?
Jake, that's a great point. I did attend school and go and play football at the University of Southern California. And back when I was coming out of high school, which was quite a few years ago, USC was in an era of winning national championships, winning Rose Bowls, pumping out Heisman Trophy winners, All-Americans, and #1 draft picks. And when I was a senior in high school, I decided to go there because I wanted some of that. I wanted to be one of those guys. But when I got to USC, things didn't exactly go the way I planned. In my 4 years at USC, I had 3 knee operations. I played 1 healthy season. But the good thing about it, I guess, is you can look back, and I wouldn't trade those 4 years for anything, even though I went through that adversity, is that I went through every summer camp leading up to the season. So all 4 years, I went through all of camp, and my teammates used to kid me because I went through 3 knee operations and I got hurt during the season. They say, bro, if you're going to get hurt during camp. You know, that's the tough part of the season. But I was fortunate because I had a great offensive line coach. We had some great players, and I learned a lot. But again, being hurt during the season for 3 years, I didn't get to play in Rose Bowls. I didn't get to play in the Notre Dame games, UCLA games. I got to play about half the games until my senior year. I got hurt in the very first game and missed the entire season. So, you know, a lot of people thought there's no way you can play anymore. You know, why don't you choose something else to do? And missing that entire season really taught me a lot about life and about myself. And I did rehab, and we were going to our third Rose Bowl in 4 years, and I hadn't played in the Rose Bowl yet. And I wanted to play in the Rose Bowl with the guys I came into school with. We had a Heisman Trophy winner in the backfield. We had a future Heisman Trophy winner in the backfield, and Marcus Allen, who would win it, after we left school. But I rehabilitated, and I had a chance to play in the Rose Bowl my senior, the only game I played my senior year. And again, even after playing that game, a lot of experts said, well, that's a nice ending to the story. You know, you had a chance to play in a Rose Bowl. That's it. But I just kept working out. I kept trying to get my body as strong as I could. And really, I thought maybe there's just one team that will give me a chance to come to an NFL camp. All I wanted was a chance to see if I could compete on the NFL level. And of course, the Cincinnati Bengals, Paul Brown, who was also in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He was the owner at the time, and he was alive at the time. They drafted me and gave me a chance to come to an NFL camp. Just not drafted me, but with the third pick in the entire draft. Very thankful that I had a chance to go to the NFL, and ended up playing 13 years. So, you know, the script was not the way I wanted it to go in college, but it worked out, and I'm just thankful.
All right, we do have some students here who are taking some English classes. This next question is going to be in a language I don't understand, but you do. So go ahead and state your name and then ask your question.
Soy de McKinley. Quería una pregunta. ¿Qué para usted, qué significa el mes de la herencia hispana?
I couldn't.
Go ahead and repeat your question a little louder.
¿Qué significa para usted el mes de la herencia hispana?
He asked the significance of me being Spanish. Is that? Yep. So, you know, from a kid, I realized first and foremost, I'm a U.S. citizen. I was born here, but my grandparents, my great-grandparents were born in Mexico, raised there, and then came to the States. And one of the things they did was they brought the Mexican culture to us in the United States. So I always had a sense of, you know, I don't know if it's thankfulness or pride or whatever word you want to have, of being of the Hispanic descent, you know, growing up in that environment with all my relatives. So as I got older and started to experience a little success in high school and college, I always believed in being a role model because I had some great mentors in my life. So I felt being a role model to young people is important, but especially the Hispanic community. And that's always been something that's been in my heart that is very significant for someone like myself to really get in the NFL and to be successful and to be an example to the Hispanic kids to say, if you work hard enough and you chase your dream, you know, sometimes it might not be in this area, but you can be successful in some area. So it's always been very important for me to be a role model. Like I said, not only to young people in general, but to especially the Hispanic youth. So it means a lot to me.
So the National Football League and a lot of organizations throughout the country, throughout the world, celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. What is the importance of an organization like the National Football League to recognize those who are currently playing and those who have played in the league with Hispanic Heritage Month?
Well, I think it's very important. I think it really says you can do something, you can play in the NFL, because when I got in the NFL, you know, Hispanic linemen in the NFL were rare. You know, I joke about it, but it was true. Really, the number of players in the NFL were all kickers, you know, and but as time went on, we had more and more other position guys playing quarterback. I played 10 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, and our right guard was Max Montoya from Southern California, another Hispanic playing on the team. So, you know, I think it's important not only to recognize the Hispanic recognition of the Hispanic accomplishments in the culture, but also to say, you know, here's someone that looks like you can do it too. And I think it's important, just like we, you know, do with Black History Week. I think it's very important that we do Hispanic Heritage Month and to recognize the culture and the recognitions or the accomplishments.
All right, we're going to send it out to our next student question here. So go ahead and take the microphone and state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
Hi, I'm Emily Wertz from Glen Oak High School. You kind of already touched on it, but being Hispanic American, how has that affected you, and how do you embrace your cultural background?
Yeah. So how has it affected me? You know what? I can't honestly say that it's affected me in a negative way. I think it's been pretty exciting because, especially when I got drafted and my wife and I came back to Cincinnati, not a whole lot of people looked like me. There wasn't a big Hispanic population. So, you know, I felt that, okay, now it's time to make an adjustment. It's time to add something to the community. And of course, now, as the Hispanic community has grown, not only nationally, but in Ohio and in Cincinnati, it's been fun for me to see. But I think it's, at least my experience has been pretty positive for the most part. And the way I embrace it is that, you know, I don't shy away from it. You know, anytime you offer me Mexican food, I'm going to eat it, you know, so that's a joke. But no, I've embraced it and I appreciate it. It is who I am. I mean, you know, my dad's family, my mom's family, they're all from Mexico. You know, so I'm Mexican American, and you know, I can tell you that it excites me when we do something like Hispanic Heritage Month, and I can tell you that I do embrace that.
All right, we'll take our next student question. Go ahead and stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question. There he is, right in the middle.
Hi, I'm Jacob Wallace from Austin Down Schools. What was one moment in your life when your character was tested, and how did you get through that?
Wow, we don't have enough time to share with you all the times. You know, I think I think it's something that you face. That's all the time. It just doesn't happen once or twice in a lifetime. And I know you're all young, but expect it to continue to happen. And for me, it's been from, you know, business conflicts with, you know, partners. It's been during a football game. I mean, you know, there's rules in a football game, and sometimes, you know, you're tempted to do something that you know, might not be within the rules of the game. And I think, you know, having played that game for so long, I'd probably say that that's one area where, you know, the tempting has been quite a bit, and you just have to sit back and say, you know, I got to do this and I have to do it right. And I think that's the great thing about it. It builds the character, and it really allows you, next time you're faced with that, just like in life, if you're tempted and you're faced with something that you have to make a decision in a good way, not a bad way, the more you do that, it becomes a habit. And so you want to you want that habit to become a positive in your life, not negative. So I would say a lot during football games and practice, because the intensity, because of the competitiveness. So I'd say that I'm thankful that I played that game for so many years, because it's helped me, you know, really deal with that temptation of really challenging my character.
You talked a little bit already about, you know, all the injuries you sustained when you were at USC. We had a question come in here from Facebook. It said that your alma mater USC plays Notre Dame this weekend, big rivalry game. Do you have any memories from rivalry games you either played in college or in the pros?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing. The USC Notre Dame game has been going on forever, and I think, you know, that was in the 4 years at USC. I just played in one because of injury, and that was in South Bend. And that was the unfortunate thing. That was the only game we lost in 4 years, and I had a chance of playing it. But yeah, the rivalry games. I mean, the Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals games. Back when I was playing, you know, both teams were excellent. You know, Cleveland had a great defense and great offense, and you know, we did pretty well. We went to 2 Super Bowls. So anytime we played the Cleveland Browns, especially with Paul Brown, our owner, who started up in the Cleveland Browns, and he came down and started the Bengals. You know, so you have a little more incentive. You know, anybody that says, I played for this team, now I'm playing for this team, and we're playing against my former team, and they say, no big deal, it is a big deal. Don't believe anybody that says it's just another game, because it is a big deal. And I knew it was a big deal when we played Cleveland for Paul Brown, who was with the Cleveland Browns. So I'd say that, and then our rivalry with the Pittsburgh Steelers. My rookie year, Pittsburgh had just come off winning their 4th Super Bowl. They had just beat the Rams in Pasadena for their 4th Super Bowl in the 70s, and they still had all the big-name players. So being able to play against Mean Joe Green and, you know, Jack Ham and Lambert and Blunt and Shell and Bradshaw and Franco Harris, Lynn Swan, Stallworth, you know, so those, and we had some great games. I'd have to say the highlight of the Steeler-Bengals rivalry, my second year, we went to Pittsburgh, and we had to win a game to clinch the AFC Central, and we beat Pittsburgh to clinch the AFC Central and go to the Super Bowl. So that was a huge memory. And of course, a memory for me against Cleveland is a memory. I have to share this because it's rare for an offensive lineman. But my 5th year with the Bengals, we had a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, and we're playing Cleveland. And I caught a touchdown to tie the game up and go over overtime and beat them in overtime. And for an offensive lineman to catch a touchdown to tie the game up and to go into overtime is a big, especially against your interstate, divisional rivalry.
What is it, like 8 catches in your career and 5 of them were for touchdowns or something?
I think it was 7. You'll give me a little more credit, but it was 7 for 4.
That's a
7
pretty
catches,
good conversion
4
rate right
touchdowns.
there.
Yeah, it was fun.
You mentioned playing in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the NFL Network is running these greatest games, greatest
Yeah.
players series, and saw the highlight there from the Bengals 49ers Super Bowl made, I think, like the top 30 or top 40 of the greatest games that ever been played. Now, unfortunately, you came out on the wrong side of that. What did you kind of take away, you know, thinking losing the Super Bowl? That's got to be one of the worst days in a football player's career. But what lessons did you kind of take away that you applied to your career on and off the field?
Well, the main thing, I mean, you mentioned, you probably talked about Super Bowl 23. We also lost to the 49ers in Super Bowl 16. So both times we lost to the 49ers. And that was an interesting question, you know, about the USC Notre Dame rivalry. The quarterback for the 49ers, both Super Bowls, just happened to be Joe Montana, who played his college football at Notre Dame. And the one game we lost to Notre Dame, my college career, we were 3-1. Joe Montana happened to be the quarterback at Notre Dame. So I have a few nightmares, you know, that have Joe Montana wear number 16 in them. But you know, for someone that played in the NFL, that's your goal. You want to make the team, but your first goal is to get in the playoffs and to play in the Super Bowl. I mean, everybody wants to play in the Super Bowl. And of course, to end up on the losing end of a Super Bowl, you hate to do that because, I mean, I love to win. I want to win as bad as anybody, but you can't change that. I mean, it is a team sport. You can't change that you lost the game. So I don't like that we ended up losing the Super Bowl, especially with the second one. The 49ers drove 92 yards under 3 minutes to beat us by 20 to 16. But the fact that I played 13 years in the league and had a chance to play in two Super Bowls, I'm very thankful. There's a lot of guys that play a lot of years in this league and don't get that chance. So I'm not saying that I'm totally satisfied with playing and losing, but I am thankful that I had a chance to play in 2 Super Bowls in my career.
Now, a question we always like to ask is, since you didn't come out on the winning end, would you trade that jacket and that ring for one of those Super Bowl rings?
That's a good question. And, for someone that didn't get a Super Bowl ring and has a Hall of Fame ring, I guess you have to look at it this way. Would you want a ring, a Super Bowl ring, where there's probably, 100 out there for that year because you won one last game and were best for a season? Or would you want a Hall of Fame ring where you're considered one of the best for the entire time the league's been in existence? I don't know. It's tough. Believe me, I would love to, be able to wear the Hall of Fame and the Super Bowl ring, but it just wasn't in the plans for me.
All right, we're going to go back to our students now. We got a question back here in the back. Go ahead, stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
Mi nombre es Juana y a los cuántos años se retiró del fútbol y por qué.
Again. Can you repeat that again?
A los cuántos años se retiró del fútbol y por qué.
I still can't hear. Somebody up here speaks Spanish, you can say
Go ahead, one more time, slow it down.
Jared, hey, Shaki, can you?
Okay. She's asking how old were you when you retired and why? What did you stop playing football?
When you retired and why?
I can barely hear that. So when I retired, I was actually 35 years old. In football, that's getting old, but injuries started to happen. That's why I retired. When your body kind of starts to break down, and you just can't do the things at 35 that you could at 25 or 30. So it was time to retire and move into another area of life, another stage of life.
All right, we're going to go to our next question now. Jerry's hustling back there with the mic. Go ahead, once Jerry gets down there, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
My name is Kalia, and I'm from AIM Academy, and my question is, what is your favorite moment from your NFL career and why?
My favorite moment of my NFL career, I guess I guess two. Can I say two? And they're very similar. I'd have to say my second year in the league and my 10th year in the league is we had home field advantage in the playoffs, and we got to play the divisional playoff game and the AFC championship game both times in front of our home fans in Cincinnati as we won to go to the Super Bowl. And to me, Cincinnati fans are the best, and we had, that's when the jungle was established. And, you know, to be able to play the playoff games and the AFC championship game in front of your home fans was really a highlight. And of course, that's home now. We made Cincinnati home after I retired. So that was exciting to be able to do that for our fans.
So that may be your favorite moment from your entire career. Did you have a welcome to the NFL moment where it was like, crap, I'm in the NFL?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of like welcome to the NFL. So 2 of my first 5 games, I had, I guess, the opportunity to play against Leroy Selman, who is a Pro Football Hall of Famer, played at the University of Oklahoma, played his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it was like, oh my goodness, this is what playing in the NFL is all about. You could not find a nicer individual. I mean, the guy is just one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. Sadly enough, we lost him way too early. He passed away. But I got to know him in my playing days, and of course, really got to know him afterwards. But it was amazing what a great player he was. And it really taught me, showed me that I had to really make, you know, thinking playing at USC, which is a pretty high level, and then playing in the NFL, I mean, I really had to take my game to another level. And playing against Leroy Selman, one of many, really emphasized that I needed to do that. So that was my welcome to the NFL moment.
You talked a little earlier about, you know, catching those touchdowns. You know, you make SportsCenter when you catch those touchdowns. Yeah. Normally, offensive linemen don't get highlighted unless they get a penalty, have a mistake, miss a block. Did you ever struggle with that throughout your career, or was it just like wipe it off the board, clean slate, next play? Yeah, you know, that's one of the things as an offensive lineman you learn right away, that during a game you don't want your name or number called, because that's not a good thing. It's the official calling holding or some type of penalty on you. And I learned that quickly in high school, that offensive linemen, knowing that a game is won or lost because of the offensive lineman, and that we're not going to get credit for it. They're going to go right to the quarterback, right to the wide receiver, running back. So we accept that, and we know that. But we also know that the quarterback, the running backs, and wide receivers know that they can't do what they're doing without the offensive line. And they're the ones that acknowledge and recognize us within the 4 walls of our facility. So that's been good enough for us. Never really struggled with it. So, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, it's such a close group that it's not just one guy, but it's all 5 guys, and a lot of times we include the tight end. So that's something that you accept early on, and you deal with it, and you just go about doing your job and understand, like I said, if we lose a game, we must have not done a very good job up front. If we win a game, let's learn from it and go to the next one. All right, we're going to go back to our students. Go ahead and stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
Hi, my name is Maribel Alonso, Kenmore Garfield High School student. Hola, mi nombre es Maribel Alonso. Y mi pregunta es, ¿cómo era tu experiencia en la bienvenida de NFL momento? What was your welcome to the NFL moment?
Welcome to the NFL. Do you have another story besides Leroy? Was there another shock to the system when you got to the NFL? Yeah, or maybe the transition from college to the pros?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, you know, playing at USC and you're playing against, you know, the Notre Dames, Ohio States, Michigans, UCLA, all the big schools. You might, out of your 12-game schedule, you might have maybe 5 really, really top-notch guys that you're playing against. I mean, they're all good, but they're not top level. I mean, you know, they're not the best of the best. If you're, you know, back in the day, if you're playing Oregon State, you know, they were good, but it wasn't like playing against Notre Dame or UCLA or Ohio State. When you get into the NFL, you got 16 games. All 16 opponents are the best of the best. So it doesn't matter if the team's 1-4 or if the team's 4-1. You know that the guy you're playing against is, I mean, he's just one of the select few that are playing. They're the best in the world. And so that was another thing, is the caliber of players you're playing against, the strength, the speed, and the intelligence of players. is just a step above the guys you're playing against in college.
You talked about playing the Steelers, and everybody you named off on that defense, I think, is in the Hall of Fame. Does that rivalry continue once you guys all put the gold jacket on? Or is there any trash talk that goes on? Or, once you're all on the same team, you're all on the same team?
That's a great question. And a lot of people ask me that question. It's like, the first time you saw Bruce Smith that you battled during your career, do you guys ignore each other? Do you just walk past each other? It's completely opposite. The first time I saw Bruce Smith after we were retired, it was a handshake and a hug. First time, I met Franco Harris or Joe Green, it was a handshake and a hug. There's still some ribbing that goes on. I mean, the thing I love, we have these different events, and I love Joe Green and Roger Staubach because they had, the Cowboys and the Steelers had some great rivalry games, and to hear them banter back and forth. That happens, but you can tell that there is a tremendous amount of respect for each other. So I think you become so close as fellow Hall of Famers, and it's a pretty special. The NFL is a really special fraternity, but then you have even a smaller select group in the Pro Football Hall of Fame that becomes even more special when you spend time together.
All right, we're going to go back to our students now for our next question. So go ahead and stand up, ask your question. State your name and your school. He's got a Steelers hoodie on.
I'm Colton Marwerka. I'm from Wyndham. And my question is, offensive linemen usually have a close relationship with their quarterback. Can you describe your relationship with Boomer while playing and how it continued today?
Yeah. He's asking about the relationship of the quarterback and the offensive lineman. And we had a very, very special relationship. And I can probably tell you that most of the linemen that played with Boomer still have a pretty good relationship with him. For Boomer is, a lot of people that get to know Boomer, initial thoughts about Boomer, they think, well, he's, a little full of himself. But the guy was just a tremendous competitor. I think the quarterbacks really need that confidence in that they can do what they're setting out to do. But the guy has a tremendous heart. He treated us extremely well. The last question about offensive linemen really not getting the recognition and just when you're, holding penalty or something like that. Boomer really made us understand how unique and special the offensive line is because of our relationship. One of the things, when I talk a lot about leadership, I talk about how leaders, there's several characteristics of leaders, but one of them is they know how to connect with their team. And what Boomer would do, after he had his quarterback meetings, one of the ways he would do it, he would come into the offensive line meeting, and our offensive line coach would be gone, and it would just be us offensive linemen watching video, tape of the next week's opponent. Boomer would come in and sit in the desk of our offensive line coach, and we'd close the door, and for an hour, we would watch video on our next opponent together, with the quarterback sitting in the room, making all the calls, running plays, in our mind, watching the defense. And I think that was rare at the time. And then another way he would connect with us, and very smart, he would connect with his offensive linemen with food. He would take us to dinner every Thursday night at a pretty good restaurant and feed us every Thursday night. And then, of course, he would buy us some pretty nice gifts for Christmas, and we'd exchange gifts. As long as he didn't give them to us before a Christmas game or something like that, because we thought if we didn't play well, he might take them back. But so yeah, we had a great relationship with Boomer. So I think a lot of the quarterbacks and offensive linemen have that relationship with their offensive linemen, and I think it's a good thing.
You talk about it, a nice little segue. We have a question coming in from Twitter. Offensive linemen have to be the ultimate teammates and show a whole lot of humility. Do you have any advice on being a good teammate, not only in any sport, but in life in general?
Yeah, I think being talk about humility and being a teammate, I think you have to, the words that come to my mind are servant leader, a servant teammate, making sure that you take care of your teammates first before yourself. Make sure you take care of your family members first before yourself, and let them know that you're there for them whenever they need you. And I think that's the case with your teammates. And it's such a competitive world that I think that gets lost a lot of times. But as a husband, as a father, now as a grandfather, there's times where I want to be selfish and take time to myself, but I got to make sure that I make my family members feel like I'm available for them whenever they need me. And I think as a teammate, that's what you have to do, is be there for your teammates and help out whenever. As a veteran lineman, I tried to really mentor and teach the younger linemen what I had been taught for so many more years so many more years before they got there and so I think that's a key, is really being accessible to others to help them out.
All right, we're going to go out to another student question here. So go ahead and stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
Hi, my name is Lillian Kramer. I go to Heritage Christian School, and my question is, what does it mean to you to be considered one of the greatest linemen in the history of the NFL?
Wow. It's very humbling when I hear, or I'm considered one of the best linemen to play in the NFL. I shared my college career with you, or lack of it. I shared part of the way I grew up. We didn't have a whole lot. So after the fact, after I played in the NFL, and even now to be considered one of the best to have played the game, is very humbling. I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. I know that it's an opinion, somebody's opinion, but it does mean a lot that that I was taught to put through work ethic and responsibility to do the things I needed to do to excel in football. So again, the one word that continues to come back is it's humble. It's humble when people say, it's humbling when people say that.
All right, we got a question right down here in front. Go ahead and stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
Hello, I'm Kevin Sear from Coventry. Do you feel as though you could have done anything better or differently in your career?
Anything better or different throughout your entire career?
Anything.
Could you have done anything better or different in your career?
Anything better or different in my career? Yeah, maybe if I would have learned how to pass rush and could have sacked Joe Montana in that last drive, Super Bowl 23, maybe. But no, I think, as far as preparing myself for every season, every game, I gave it all I had. I mean, the effort in every game, I feel satisfied with what I did. Really, there's just, I think you talk to some players, and there's some players that have an opportunity to play their professional career in front of their family or their hometown. And if, I had a great career, enjoy Cincinnati, that's home. But there's times, with my mother's lack of being able to travel, and I come from a huge family, is maybe getting an opportunity to play in LA in front of my family would have been nice in professional football. But it's not something that I regret or something that I think about all the time. But I just think about how many family members used to come to my games when we played on the West Coast, to be able to have a full season out there like I did in college, which they came to a lot of games but didn't see me play a lot. But that might be just one thing, is being able to play in front of my family in my hometown.
So you have a 13-year career, and everyone's career, whether it's in high school, college, or the professional level, all comes to an end.
Right.
And that is tough sometimes, because that you spent your entire life playing a sport or dedicated to a craft that you got really, really good at. Did you find the transition out of the game to be tough? Yeah. And then what are some things you do nowadays, foundations or things like that you've started?
I can honestly say that if you play 1 or 2 years or 13 years, it's going to be tough to transition out of playing football. I mean, I started playing football when I was 8, 9 years old, and all of a sudden I'm 35 and I got to leave the game. But I think the main thing is trying to find something that you have a passion for. And even though a year after I retired, I had a full-time job. My last 7 years playing with the Bengals, I did high school football games on radio. And that kind of got me ready. I was hired by Fox to do the NFL the year after I retired. And even though I had a full schedule of games, I was busy, I was working, it still wasn't the same when July rolled around as being in camp, getting ready for the season. So it took me about 3 or 4 years to kind of get over that hump of saying, okay, I'm no longer playing. I'm going to, so I was in broadcasting for about 7 years. I left broadcasting. I have a foundation that we're going into our 19th year. I've done some other stuff. I've had the opportunity to work with my son, doing some fan development, some character initiatives with the NFL. I have a corporate apparel company, promotional items, so I've been able to learn a little bit about for-profit companies. And I do a lot of this. So I keep myself busy, but also try to get away with my wife and my family and spend family time to have a good balance. So, but it was a tough transition because I did play a lot of years, but you also realize, you can't do it anymore, so you have to do something else. And, so hopefully, you don't find your whole identity wrapped up in your number in the uniform you wear, that you realize it's something that you do that's not who you are. And, so I think that helps some get over that hump and move into the next phase of your life.
All right, got another question from a student back here. Go ahead and stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
My name is DeMarco Haynes, and my question, I come from Martin Luther King High School, and my question is, who influenced you the most in your life, and how, or why did that person do it?
Who influenced me the most in my life? Wow. You know, I learned a lot from my mom, you know, work ethic and responsibility, just the way she handled herself, providing for 5 kids. You know, throughout my life, you know, I've been married 41 years. My wife's here. We've helped each other. My faith has been very important in my life. You know, for 41 years, my faith journey has been very important for me. That's been a huge influence, a big example in my life. And then some coaches. I have a coach I met when I was 7 years old. He was my high school baseball coach. I had a couple of teachers that I had in high school that really taught me about sports, taught me about different academic areas, but also taught me about life. Really poured into, you know, myself and other young men very formidable years to allow us to see, you know, what we had to do in life. And so there's several, you know, several things that really influenced me, but I'd have to say, you know, my mom, some uncles, and then my faith has been a big influence in my life.
Now, not a lot of people know this, but while you were at USC, you just didn't play football. You excelled in baseball as well, national championship with USC. What do you feel the benefit is to playing more than one sport? And do you feel like all sports kind of help you get better at everything that you do?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of playing as many sports as you can, not specializing, and I know there's pros and cons of both. But I played football, basketball, and baseball in high school. You know, eventually I just played football as an offensive lineman. I look at what I had to do as an offensive lineman. I had to be able to sit down. I had to be able to move my feet. I played baseball. I was a third baseman. I was a third baseman at about 275 pounds. So I had to be able to move, field bunts, move right and left. And, you know, God blessed me with that ability to do that. So I couldn't run the bases that fast. I had to hit the ball twice as far as other guys to get around and get a home run. But put me in that little area, and I could field bunts and, you know, cover the line. Played basketball. I was about 275 pounds. I had to guard guys that were 170, 180 pounds. So I had to move my feet. So I believe hip flexibility, leg flexibility, being able to sit down, move my feet, really playing other sports helped me out with my NFL career. So like I said, I know it's tough at times, but I would highly recommend that young people play multiple sports. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think this draft, but 2 drafts ago, I heard a statistic that maybe 31 of the 32 first-round picks were multi-sport guys growing up. So I'm a firm believer that the more sports you play, the better you're going to get. If you specialize later in life in one, that it's going to help you out.
All right, we're going to go back to our students right there in the back. Go ahead and stand up, state your name, your school, and then ask your question.
My name is Alejandro Salazar. I'm from Madison, Washington High School. And my question is, throughout your NFL career and leading up to that point, did you experience any discrimination due to having a Hispanic background?
Yeah, I think I might address that a little bit earlier. He asked about discrimination with my Hispanic background. And I really didn't experience that. I mean, did anything happen behind my back? I couldn't tell you. But as far as face-to-face, person-to-person, you know, I never experienced that. I believe in everything I did and tried to do. I was given a fair chance, as fair a chance as the person next to me, regardless of what our skin color was. So I can honestly say that I never experienced that in my life, any discrimination. So I'm thankful for that. And so that's why, you know, I believe that it doesn't matter, you know, what our skin color is, what socioeconomic background we come from. We need to be able to work together. And I would highly encourage, I don't know what the access is to the video, and Jake knows exactly what I'm going to say, but we got a great video, The Huddle, and that addresses that point. I mean, as a member of a football team, the fact that I'm from East LA and the guy next to me was from Iowa, and the tackle on the other side was from Texas, and our quarterback was from Long Island, and my skin's darker than this guy, and all that didn't matter. We were working together as a team, trying to accomplish one thing, and that was trying to execute and win games. And so I think that's the key, is that we've got to look more at our hearts than we do at our skin color and work together.
All right, we got some real hot NFL topics right now. I got a question from Facebook. Bengals play the Jaguars later this month. Does Gardner Minshew have a better mustache than the one you played with?
I don't know. Do we happen to have I would love to have a picture, but
yeah, well, there it is. Yeah, we got it.
I don't know. I mean, have you seen? Who's seen Gardner? I mean, what do you think?
Got a pretty good one.
I know he doesn't have the hair. I think I'd take it on the hair, but I don't know. I'd say I'd want to challenge him.
Okay.
I'll have to go with my mustache.
A couple more here before we wrap up. The significance of being a Hall of Famer. One of the best 326 to ever step on the field, work in the front office, or have an influence on the game of professional football. Since getting that Hager gold jacket, that K Jewelers Ring of Excellence, this bronze bust here, what has been, maybe the coolest thing you've gotten to do, or an impact you've got to leave just because you have that gold jacket?
Wow, there's a lot of things that this gold jacket affords you the opportunity to do, and I guess the one thing that I'm thankful, and we talked about it earlier. I mean, I played 13 years with the Cincinnati Bengals. I still know a lot of guys, have great relationships, but now the relationships I have with guys that I competed against, guys that competed before I played, guys that compete, that we have a platform to work together to really have an impact, not only in this community, but across the country. And I think that's what the opportunity that I'm thankful for, that I can go out with a Darrell Green, a Aeneas Williams, or a Jack Youngblood, or whoever it is that wears a gold jacket, and we can have an impact across the country. That is one of the coolest things that I really love, that that we have a platform as a gold jacket, but now we have a platform to work with other gold jackets and spend time with each other, not only in Canton, but in other parts of the country, in cities that I didn't play in. I mean, we've been north, south, east, west with the program with Aeneas and Aeneas Williams and Darrell Green, but to be able to get in to high school kids because of the jacket, and to really share our story and hopefully share things that we've learned that will really help you out in decisions you're making and people are making to, and we understand that not every one of you will be a gold jacket, but it's, again, to quote Dave Baker, our president, it's not about being a pro football gold Hall of Famer, it's about being a Hall of Famer in life, and that's what we love to try to do.
So again, we want to thank you for coming here to your second home and taking time out of your busy schedule, especially during the NFL season, to come here to Canton. Last thing I always like to ask, and something we want to leave everybody, not only here in Canton with us, but also watching online. What is one piece of advice you would want every student and even adult to leave this program with today?
Wow. One piece of advice that I would just be thankful for where you are right now, and don't let it hold you back from trying to accomplish something. Don't say, well, I don't have this resource or I don't have that resource. Really take the initiative to look for resources. If you want to do something, you can find resources to do something. And I would say just don't get stuck in a circumstance, in a background, and don't get stuck in an adversity, but move through it. Try to get help, get a mentor, get some type of help to help yourself, to improve your situation where you can do something and then help somebody else.
All right, I can't think of a better way to wrap up. Thank you again for coming here to Canton, Ohio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks for everybody for coming here today. We appreciate you coming here to Canton, Ohio. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you back at the Hall of Fame one day. Thank you, everybody.